In this podcast, I will try to convince you that it can be a good idea to erase your art and start over. What could possibly be the benefit? Are you not throwing away a lot of time by doing so? Can't you just fix your art instead of throwing away all that work? That's something I will discuss in this podcast. Welcome to the Practice Drawing This podcast, designed to listen to while drawing. Also go to the website for the weekly thought-provoking newsletter with optional drawing exercises. Designing a chair is a classic assignment for design students. They have to create a chair that looks good in certain environments and that is comfortable to sit in for anyone. And it has to be designed so that it can easily be mass-produced. You can see why this is a useful exercise for people who will specialize in designing tangible products. The designer will come up with a design after doing many study sketches meant to be thrown away later. It is important at this stage to not fall in love with the first design. If a designer likes the chair, great. Try to draw it again and push the idea further. If they don't like the design, that's fine too. Try to come up with another design, but don't fall in love with your first design. Then they have a workplace come up with a prototype of the chair. They then place the chair in such an environment and invite people with different body types to sit in the chair to feel if it is pleasant to sit in. The prototype is thrown away. The designer makes notes and goes back to the drawing board and makes more design sketches and arrives at a newly, slightly altered, slightly improved design. And another prototype is made. The designer will use this iterative approach to arrive at the ideal chair, making throwaway sketches and then making throwaway prototypes of the chair. The companies who create game consoles do the same thing for their controllers. The controllers have to be easy to use for lots of different hand sizes and be pleasant to operate for hours and hours. To that end, they will again make lots of preparatory throwaway design sketches, and they will have a workplace create a prototype. Then they have actual people try the prototype controllers. They get feedback on how the controllers feel, and they throw the controllers away, making small alterations to the design, and then they commission another controller prototype, and they test it again. Gamers with hands of all sorts of sizes and shapes will hold these controllers for hundreds of hours. The game console companies really have to get it right. If you follow the world of digital cameras, you can see that the camera manufacturers come out with new, slightly improved designs for the cameras regularly. The specs usually also improve. The image captured will have higher resolution, the autofocus will be faster, etc. But also, they will make the camera hold more pleasantly, they will make the feel of pressing the buttons more pleasing. Note that cameras have existed for around 100 years and still they come out with slightly improved versions of cameras each year. Last year's model was the prototype of this year's model. They went back to the drawing board to design a new improved version, and they produced a new model. The same can be said for cars. Even though cars have existed for a long time, car manufacturers manage to come out with new, slightly improved cars every year. Technology advances, but they also pay attention to how it feels to operate the car, and they make slight improvements from year to year, from model to model. You see the pattern. Design something through quick sketches, create a prototype, test the prototype and make notes on where it can be improved, redesign, and then make another prototype. So, why is this relevant for artists? Well, to begin with, animation companies use this process too. They will start with a script, which is written and rewritten and rewritten. The script versions are like preparatory preliminary sketches. Then, artists take the script and they make storyboards, very quick sketches of single shots, potential frames in the film. They try to design the storyboards so that they help support the telling of the story. These storyboards are also like preliminary sketches. They have to be done quickly. You have to not be emotionally attached to each drawing. You have to not fall in love with your first design. Make many iterations of a storyboard design. If you like one storyboard, great. Draw another one, try to push the idea further. Don't like it, try another idea. But don't go with the first thing you drew. Maybe there are better ideas. Throw away prototypes. The storyboards can now be put into a sequence and presented to a team of creatives, storytellers and animators. But what they can also do is create an animatic. An animatic is when they take the storyboards and use those to make a film that approximates what the final film might look like in the end, a prototype. They can now all go sit in a theater and watch that animatic, watch that film, and get a feel for whether that sequence would work, whether the shots would work, whether the pacing works, whether the dialogue works, etc. And then they throw away the animatic again, and the writer goes back to their keyboard and makes changes to the script, a new prototype, and the artists go read that changed and hopefully improved script, and they create new storyboards, new prototypes for the single shots in the film. And another animatic is made, another prototype, and the crew go sit in the theater and try to figure out what does and doesn't work in this prototype. And then they throw away the prototypes and they go back to their desks and they do it again. In the past, teachers would ask students to erase their drawings. I think that was a cruel thing to do, to be honest, at least without explaining why. You, the student, feel like you invested so much time in the drawing and now you are forced to erase it. You are asked to destroy a piece of art just made, that you just poured your heart in, your everything in, for the past tens of hours, and now you're asked to erase it. But these teachers were, presumably, if they weren't trying to just be cruel, testing to see if you were willing to start afresh, if that could yield better results, to treat something you made as a prototype, to study and analyze and figure out what you could do better in the next attempt at it, to learn from it, to grow, to get better results in your next attempt. They tested to see if you were willing to treat a drawing like a prototype. Many painters work like that. Frankly, many paintings are often a prototype for the next painting as they research an idea. But these paintings, these prototypes, can look good enough to be sold in galleries or hung on walls of museums. Those artworks are, frankly, my favorite. I get to see the artist's process. If you get a chance, watch how Glen Keane develops a drawing. He's an animator. He has a board with semi-transparent sheets of paper used for onion skinning in 2D animation. But he also uses it to refine character designs. He'll make a quick sketch of a character and then he'll lay a new sheet of paper over it and do a new design, a new iteration, seeing the previous design shine through the page so he can follow it or change things like proportions and details and such. There is this concept of sunk cost fallacy. When you already spent a lot of time on a drawing, we don't want to throw it away as we already invested so much time in it. But we're not throwing it away, we got something from it. We learned that some aspects of it don't work, and so we get to do it better in the next iteration. We came away with knowledge. It's not so much about erasing your drawings as it is about redoing it, improving it with each iteration, really. A fun thing I like to do is fill sketchbook pages with lots of attempts to draw something. I will fail heroically. There are many mistakes in each of them, but the page as a whole still often looks nice. And I get better at drawing that thing. And I don't really throw away those sketches. I keep them. I even post them online sometimes. You don't actually have to erase or throw away your drawings. Just be willing to try, to analyze and work and figure out where you can improve, make notes, try again, to treat each drawing as a prototype for the next one. I hope you had a fun drawing session, and I hope you will check out my other videos next.